There's going to be many new spells, talent changes, and also new talents as a druid in the Burning Crusade, and those I'll be covering in this video. Barkskin has been improved. Now it's also reducing all damage taken by 20%, and there's no longer a penalty where your non-instant cast spells will take 1 second longer, or your melee combat speed being slowed by 25%. The base mana cost of cat form has been reduced to 35%, in Classic it was 55%. And talking about cat form, back in Burning Crusade 2021 they introduced a nerf. Whenever you shifted into cat form, you also had to wait 2 seconds for the next energy tick. I believe it will probably be like this on the anniversary realms as well. There's also going to be many new spells you can learn at your trainer. At 62, Maim, an attack that requires combo points, which incapacitates a target up to 6 seconds. It of course depends on the amount of combo points you spend. If you or anyone else decides to do direct damage, it will also break Maim, but if you have applied Rake or Rip, it won't break the effect. The 6 seconds window also allows you to go back into Prowl. At level 64, we are unlocking a new heal, Life Bloom. This you can stack on a target up to 3 times. The more stacks, the more healing over time. The maximum stack is 3 times. When you get it to 3, you will just be able to cast a new Life Bloom to also remain at those stacks. The moment you don't cast a new one for 7 seconds, it will explode and do a lot of instant healing. Be aware, you will be able to cast this on many different targets at the same time. So a good druid will just be swapping between different targets and continuing to keep the Life Bloom active on everyone. By the time you reach level 66, you unlock a new ability for Bear Form. It causes a low amount of instant damage, but a high amount of threat, and also a bleed effect that ticks every 3 seconds. The bleed effect can stack up to 5 times, so the more stacks, the more damage every 3 seconds. And the damage you cause is also increased by your attack power, and what I really like here is just the high amount of threat you do with this ability. A huge benefit as a druid is that you unlock your flight form at level 68. So at level 68 you will start flying, where other classes need to reach level 70 before they unlock this possibility. Other benefits is that this is going to be instant, so you can use it to prevent a death from fall damage, or if you like to farm herbs, you can use it without breaking the form, and this also makes the druid the best herbalism farmer. Just be aware, if you like to farm mining, you will also need to get out of your form to perform this action, but then you will be able to instantly get back into your flight form. At level 70, there's eventually also going to be a quest allowing you to unlock an epic flight form, but this is also gated behind a long quest chain. By the time you reach max level, you unlock Cyclone, a 6 second CC, absolutely insane in PvP, but also becomes useful in PvE. You can also use it to basically interrupt a cast, and in PvP it will give you a 6 seconds window, enough time to also get out of combat so you can prowl and stun the target. There is also a DR on Cyclone, so the second time you cast it's only going to last for half the duration, and after 3 casts it's also going to be immune for around 20 seconds. You can only Cyclone one target at a time, but if used for example against a paladin or a mage, you won't be able to block or bubble. Moving on to the next category, new talents and also changes to each specialization. As a feral druid, your thick hide still does the exact same, but now it only requires 3 points spent here instead of 5. This is also the same case with feral instinct, doing the exact same but no longer requiring 5 points spent. In tier 3 we can choose sharpened claws. Right below we find primal fury, which does many different things. In Classic, you had to spend 2 points into both of these talents to get all those benefits, and the 2 points you just saved, you can spend into a brand new talent, which increases your healing spells by 100% of your agility, and while you're in cat form, all healing done to you is also increased by 20%. Overall, feral are just being buffed, and so much better in this expansion. This one here, for example, reduces your chance to be critical hit by melee attacks by 3%, and also increasing your attributes. This makes it perfect for those of you who would like to tank. Improved leader of the pack, which makes this buff so much better. Every party and raid member will now be healed for 4% of their total health whenever they're critting with a range or melee attack. It can only occur once every 6 seconds, but then again, the self-healing is going to be absolutely insane in raids. Primal Tenacity is also new, and it's the same case with the remaining things I will show you in the specialization. It's useful for PvP and PvE whenever you're fighting someone who will stun or fear. If we scroll further down, we find Predatory Instincts. While in cat and bear form, you will increase your damage done by melee critical strikes by 10%, and also increase your chance to avoid area of effect attacks by 15%. At the bottom, we unlock Mangle, a new attack you can use in cat and bear form. If you use this in bear form, there is also going to be a 6 seconds cooldown, but don't worry, the debuff is lasting for 12 seconds, so you should have enough time to always make sure the debuff is active on a target. When you use Mangle in cat form, there's going to be no cooldown, but this doesn't really matter, as you would also like to benefit from doing more damage with your bleed and shred until you need to reapply a new Mangle. Moving on to the next specialization, Balance. In the first row there's no changes, but Focus Starlight now only requires 2 talent points, where in Classic it were 5. Some of you might also remember that we were able to reduce the mana cost of our shapeshifting spells. This has been moved into the restoration tree, so you gotta spend points here if you wish to also reduce the mana cost by 30%. In Classic, there were also another spell in the Restore tree. This has been moved into the Balance tree, and it's Insect Swarm. At this location, there also used to be Omen of Clarity, and this buff has also been moved into the Restore tree. So there's actually many spells swapping between these two specializations. Going back to the Balance tree, Celestial Focus has been changed. In Classic, it used to also increase our casting speed of Starfire by half a second. In the Burning Crusade, it will provide your Wrath with a 70% chance to also ignore spell interruption effects. We are also getting so many new passive abilities, such as this one, increasing your healing and spell damage equal to 25% of your total intellect. Below this, we find yet another thing which makes mana efficiency so much better. Every 5 seconds, you're regening mana equal to 10% of your total intellect, even while casting. This is why Balance will also be playable in dungeon and raid groups. Reaching the spell hit cap is also going to be easier with Balance of Power, and it also reduces your chance to be hit by spells by 4%, useful in raids and PvP. Improved Verifier is also a must-have. When you apply this debuff to a target, you will also increase the chance for your party and raid members to hit the target with melee and range attacks by 3%. We can also increase the damage we do with Starfire and Wrath by spending 5 points into this. And right below we find Force of Nature. This spell will summon 3 Treants within 36 yards of the Druid. When you activate these, they will also attack the target you are attacking, but with melee attacks. They are doing a high amount of damage and lasting for 30 seconds. Their health is almost 2000, so when you're fighting someone with an AoE ability, you don't really have to worry about them getting one shot. But the Treants can be affected by CC, such as an AoE stun or an AoE fear. Moving on to the last specialization, like I mentioned earlier, Natural Sharpshifter, but also Omen of Clarity is now in this specialization, and they used to be in the Balance tree in Classic. In the Burning Crusade, Intensity has been buffed. It's now 30% instead of 15%, and when you're using Enrage, you will also instantly generate 10 rage. This used to be a complete other talent in the Classic tree, so we're actually getting more benefits from Intensity. There is of course also going to be new talents providing different passive buffs. For example, Empowered Touch, your Healing Touch spell gains an additional 20% of your bonus healing. You can also increase your total spirit by 15% by spending 3 points into Living Spirit. And right next to our Swiftmint, we find Natural Perfection. It will increase your spell critical strike chance by 3%, and whenever you are being crit, you're also reducing your damage taken by 4%, stacking up to 3 times and lasting for 8 seconds. You can also spend 5 points into this to increase the bonus healing effect of your healing over time spells by 20%. By spending 5 points into this, you also allow the possibility to unlock a new form, Tree of Life. In Tree of Life, you're going to provide your party and yourself with a buff. which increases their healing received by 25% as long as they're within 45 yards of you. In Tree of Life, you will also reduce your own movement speed by 20%. Be aware, in this form, you will only be able to use the spells listed right there. If you end up using a healing touch, or for example a buff, then you will also end up cancelling your Tree of Life form. This was also the last class I had to cover in this series. On my channel, you can find all the other class changes, together with many other useful Burning Crusade videos, and soon also a lot more you definitely don't want to miss. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified when I post these. Thank you so much for watching, and have an amazing day. Peace.